Hey fam, welcome to another episode of the Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate. Excuse my voice. I spent the weekend at a networking conference, so I did a lot of talking and still trying to get over it. But I got a great episode for you. What do you get when you mix fatherhood, Florida real estate, and relentless drive to build? Today's guest is a father, a flipper, and a force in Florida real estate. He's not just doing deals, he's building community. From hosting meetups in Orlando to managing multiple flips and staying grounded at home, this episode is about balance, business, and building something bigger than yourself. So help me welcome to the stage a new friend of mine, Trevor Hicks.
Love it. Thank you, Jose. It was an awesome introduction, man. I hope I can live up to the hype.
I'm sure you can, my friend. How are things going?
Things are going great. As you mentioned, we're all, I think, just getting back. I flew back in at 6:30 a.m. yesterday, jet lagged as heck. And luckily it was Columbus Day. So my kids were off of school, got to get back to the people I love the most. So it's been good getting back to the grind today.
That's awesome, man. I like to start every episode so people know who they're talking with and why they should be listening. Why they should be listening. So can you share your story with us, where you got started and how you got decided to get into real estate?
Sure. As Jose mentioned, my name is Trevor Hicks. I am located in Central Florida, Orlando to be exact, just next to the Orlando International Airport. I have actually been a healthcare professional for a little over 12 years. I have my doctorate in physical therapy. So W-2 mindset for a long time, working for somebody else. Drive, passion. I was a leader there. I was a manager. Everything from treating patients to helping to bring up younger PTs and other office staff and learning to run a business truly over the past 7 years. Learning how to lead people, and then ultimately a director of operations. So when I moved into that level of director of operations, I was no longer in clinical care and I was looking for more. I was looking for more revenue, investment opportunities, and that's where I landed in real estate. I big YouTuber. So I would go there, and that's ultimately how I found Pace and was in a big part of his free community, meaning I was just swallowing up any and all videos I could find. I just had every playlist he had, everything from Raising Private Money with him and Jerry Norton, probably one of my favorite lists on there, free lists. If you haven't watched that, please go spend the next couple hours doing that. And that's where I think I found my niche, was lending, because I knew I could continue to treat people, which I loved in healthcare. There was some turbulence going on in healthcare, some of the big players, the insurance and things like that, was what pushed me away from clinical care, but knew I still loved people and loved operations. I thought I could leverage both of those. I started to really leverage the lending side, everything from learning how to transfer and utilize a self-directed IRA. So using IRA funds with other healthcare professionals that really had money locked up, that I felt like I could educate them on using that more wisely, as well as transactional funding. That's really where my niche started about 18 months ago, a little over that now. Was spending all my extra time, even extra time at work when I was done doing my normal stuff. That's what I was building. And that came to a very abrupt end, an unforeseen end last November when I was let go from my job. The new CEO came in and saw a different direction. And I really had last Thanksgiving in December to spend time with my family. I was given a stipend, I had healthcare, and I actually just had a major surgery. So I was still on crutches, learning, doing PT myself with other friends and past colleagues, learning to walk again, learning to run again, and just really enjoyed the time I got to spend with my family and away from work. And I was still continuing to build my real estate from that, at that point, building more lending opportunities, doing a lot more networking, started to get into more fix and flips at that point, found an amazing partner, and things really just started to open up. The more I opened up, the more I shared with other people in my direct circle what I was doing. Attended Squad Up last March, jumped into Owners Club, and ever since then, it has been like a catapult, just launching me into all of these different opportunities. And the more I continue to say yes, the more I continue to show up for other people, myself, and just getting in the right mindset and what I would call not the W-2 mindset, which we can touch on later, the more opportunities have continued to come to me. So now I have stepped into real estate, I would say darn near full time. I still do work 1 to 2 days a week. I would say when I want to. I'm a PRN employee for Orlando Health here in Orlando still, and I love it because it gives me the freedom to travel. It gives me the freedom to spend more time with my family, walk my kids to school, which is first and foremost of most importance to me.
That's awesome. Listening to your story, it doesn't sound like you came from a family that was into real estate. So was all your education from watching the videos from Pace, or did you learn stuff from another guru? How did you educate yourself enough to have the confidence to do your first deal?
That is a great question. I would say it came from multiple sources. And you are exactly right. I was brought up in a family not in real estate whatsoever. I would say until I got to college, I never really knew what a real estate agent truly did. And I don't even think at that point anybody in my family was a real estate agent. We lived in our house that my mom and dad owned. And then I moved out here and obviously rented throughout college. But it never was in my purview of, man, and I trust me, I wish I knew this 15 years ago when I was
Right.
moving from apartment to apartment. We were living the co-living model. I would live with 5 guys in a 5-bedroom house, and each of us paid 700-800 bucks a room. And if I knew what I knew then, if I knew now what I knew then, I'd have 10 rentals that were still in the Orlando area renting to college students. I know a lot of people don't like that, or college people, but it's, man, you go find some graduate students that are studying like I was 10, 12 hours a day and attending class pretty much 5 days a week. And on the weekends, going back to the library and studying. Like, they didn't live in the house, they slept in the house. So to answer your question, short but sweet, never short and sweet, I did not know anything then. And I worked again, I put my head down. I was a healthcare representative for Advent Health for 9.5 years. Then I worked for a nonprofit health foundation in Winter Park, which was where my healthcare career came to a divergence. But I jumped on YouTube, honestly, a lot. That's where I first heard Pace. And I think I heard Jerry Norton there. I heard a handful of others, Bigger Pockets. But ultimately, what I would say is my community from my kids' school is where the majority of our close adult friends are now outside of real estate. But one of those people I found out was rather successful in real estate. She used to be a title agent. She was a real estate agent. She's now an investor, and she owns a handful of title offices here in Orlando. When I found that out, and we had been hanging out together, her and my wife are like best friends now, and we go on family vacations together. I started to pry, I started to ask, and I was like, would you consider teaching me a little bit of what you know so that I can do this too? I'm really interested. We've been looking at all these things. And she was hesitant at first. But the reason I found out she was hesitant was because a lot of people found out how successful she was and would ask, and nobody would take any action. And when she told me that, I was like, that's not me. You know me well enough by now. I'm interested. I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone here. And she gave me a book, and it was a Gary Keller book. I think it was like the basics of real estate, where I learned what wholesaling was, what fix and flip and buy and hold, the 3 main ways of making money in real estate. And I read it in a week and a half. I came back to her. I said, okay, here's your book back. And she's, oh, so you're done already? Like, you're giving up? I was like, no, I'm done with it. What's the next book? And I had already started on Rich Dad Poor Dad. Actually, that was, I remember, summer vacation. I took that book in, sitting on the front porch in North Carolina in a rocking chair. I took that book in 3 mornings and was just like, boom. And I'm not a huge book reader. I'll listen to audiobooks. I'll I'll listen to podcasts. I'll watch and listen to YouTube videos. But there was something about those that just triggered me. And from then on, she was like, okay, I'm going to set up this lunch. We'd set up lunches with wholesalers, with fix and flippers, with other agents that worked with investors, you name it. She was putting me in contact for a 3-month period. I think we had 12 different lunches, just boom, boom, one a week, and just encouraged me to start reaching out to other people. So I was just doing cold outreach a lot for lending, transactional lending at that point, when somebody brought an opportunity to me and was like, no, I don't need EMD. I don't need double closing. I need somebody to buy my mother-in-law's house. And I was like, shoot, I've learned about this, but I've never done this. And I don't know what it was about that opportunity. Just, she was actually more persistent than I think I was. I followed up. It was through Facebook Messenger. And over like a 2-month period, she'd done everything from send me photos of the house to tell me what they were thinking of what it was listed, what they were going to list it for, but they didn't want to list it. They really just wanted a cash offer. They wanted to move quick. It was a divorce scenario after 20 years. The kids are grown and out of the house, and they just wanted to be done. And the wife was like, just give me a number. So I gave her a number. It's a lot lower than what she was wanting. And I had set the stage as to why. And they were like, hey, we trust you. We want to work with you, but we need you to come up on your number a little bit. And we were like 150 grand apart from what they thought the house was worth and what I offered. And I was like, oh, geez. They were when they said they wanted to work with me, they were 5 grand over what I asked. I offered 205, and they asked if you could come up to 210. We would do it with you. And I was like, I was starstruck, and I was like, you're really serious.
Yeah.
Then when I finally figured out she was really serious, I was like, shoot, now I need to get this property under contract, which again, I had never signed a contract other than buying my house back in 2017. And that was because the agent said, here's the DocuSign, sign here and here. I don't even think I read it over. I just was trusting. So I reached out to a friend that I knew was in sub 2. His name is Chris Geddes, pretty well known. He's an amazing individual. We had been in a transactional funding community together, and I knew that he did a lot of wholesale. And he immediately was like, yeah, I'll help you. No problem. Here's the contract. Fill it out. And I was like, what do you mean fill it out? No, that's why I came to you. He's like, yes. And this is how you're going to learn. Fill it out and send it to me, and I will help you. I filled it out, sent it back to him. I think he had 1 or 2 minor adjustments. He's like, this looks good. Go ahead and send it to him. And I was like, wait, send it to the seller. And he's like, yeah, get them to sign it. And then you're under contract. Then you find the title company. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, what do I do? Oh, wait, my friend owns a title company. Reached out to her and I was like, hey, this is the deal I'm about to do. Like, okay, great. Email it to my title agent. I'm like, it's all really this easy. It's that simple. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, I thought it was all of these legalities and which, yeah, there's obviously legal things. It's a legal contract. It's a purchase and sale agreement. But there's other people out there that are more knowledgeable than you that are there to help you. That is their job. So the more I was able to get out of my own way, I locked up that first deal, found my now fix and flip partner, made 35 grand each on that deal in like a 2-month time frame. And I was like, wow, this is what's possible. This would have taken me 3-4 months to make this amount of money. And that's going to a 40 plus hour a week job where I did this in probably a total of 10, 15 hours cumulative over those 2 months, from everything from the negotiation to the contract to finding my partner to then my partner was actually like, I'll JV with you on this. I was trying to wholesale the deal to him for like 5-10K. And he's like, no, let's partner on this. And yeah, again, I said yes. And now he and I are like, I would say about as close as you can get outside of being brothers. And our families have demoed a house together and stayed together, you name it. And he's a partner, he's a friend. Yeah, that's the beginnings of the journey of just saying yes and realizing I didn't know it all as a healthcare professional. There's people out there to help you and accept the help, be open to asking for the help. Because a lot of people, in my experience, a lot of people are very quick to help. And those that aren't quick to help, I can usually see that right away. I even got that this weekend, even in Owners Club, going up to people and being like, hey, I really want to work with you. And I just didn't get the feeling of being open to working with someone. Okay. There's always other people. There's always other people that are willing to collaborate and communicate. And my partner and I are those exactly, open to helping people because people have helped us along the way.
That's awesome. You said it was your first one. And most people that are trying to get into real estate, the first obstacle they got to, besides getting out of their own way and being open for help, is I don't have any money. I live paycheck to paycheck. I got $20 to my name. How do I buy a $210,000 home with no money that I have of my own? Can you share how you were, because you said you were learning as you did it, right? Learning the contract, learning to open up title or escrow. Can you share that experience with people? Because that's where people are like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. That's actually exactly how I found PACE. And I think I Googled, how do I get into real estate with little to no money? Because even though I was a healthcare worker, I made a good salary, I had a budget, but my budget, everything extra either went towards savings or went towards what was going to be our next vacation. I'm not big. I don't have a ton of debt other than my home, which again, it was also the very frugal mind. That's how I was raised of, how do I do this cheapest? Not how do I go put 100 grand down on a house and then wait and flip it. So when I first went into this, again, I went in with a thought of how do I use little to none of my own money, or how do I leverage other people's money? That thought to me was fascinating. And when I first heard it, and I still think this, that a lot of people take advantage of others by using other people's money. I thought of it as, wow, that's risky, because if I'm not willing to lose my own money, but I'm willing to lose somebody else's money, that's where it can become very dangerous. And I would still say, without doing your own due diligence, having the proper securities in place and contracts and liens in place, truly protecting yourself and somebody else's money, it still can go bad. But now my purview, my mindset has been, I want to use other people's money to show them what is possible in real estate and how to make an investment and a return on their money that may just be sitting there in a high yield savings account making 2%, or in a Roth IRA or a self-directed IRA, probably more appropriate than a Roth, but a self-directed IRA that they're investing in the stock market that may have made them 7% last year. I want to show you how I can make you 10% in 6 months, which is what our gap lenders make. So that first deal, I had some savings, but I also knew that was set aside. That was my rainy day fund, that if I lost my job, that was there to cover 3 months worth of expenses before I was able to do something again. So I was like, man, okay. And I had been an EMD lender. So I knew $5,000 for EMD. I could pay somebody to do that. But my partner at the time was like, hey, I have the money for the EMD. That's no problem. However, our closing costs is probably going to be around 20 grand. I was like, wait, how do we buy a $210,000 house with 20 grand? So we're going to use a hard money loan, which he had it was actually a private money loan from a local friend who he had done business with before that would loan up to 90% of the purchase price. So 90% of 210. Again, we had about 21 grand plus closing costs left to do. So I actually went to my father and I said, can I borrow 30 grand? And I'm going to pay you back in 6 months. And I'm going to pay you interest on that money. And being that it was my dad, he did obviously ask some questions, but really wasn't knowledgeable of real estate. But he had heard me talking about a lot of things. And we were looking at Airbnbs and things like that in the mountains that we wanted to use and rent. And he was willing to invest on those. But I said to him, I'm going to fix and flip this house. We're going to make money. I want you to trust me. I've never been more confident on something. And he was like, okay. So he actually is the one that wired in the money for me for the down payment. He wired 21 and I got the rest that we were able to utilize for about $30,000 worth of rehab, which clearly you'll do the math, it doesn't work. So I actually applied for a 0% APR credit card and I used that. So we were able to pay, I think we replaced an AC, we did some cleaning, we replaced a pool pump, got the pool cleaned up. I don't even think we spent 30 grand. So we still had money left over, but money sat there for, again, 2 months. And then at close, when all of that money came back, we distributed, obviously, all of the profits. I paid back off the 0% APR credit card. I sent my dad back 33 grand in 2.5 months. And he was like, what did you do? And you don't have to send me back the money. How do we put this to work again?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So people are watching this. They're like, okay, great. You had your dad. How do you approach somebody that maybe it's not your father, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's a colleague at work? You talk about transactional funding and people using self-directed IRAs. A lot of people are not very comfortable talking about money. So how would you, excuse me, how would you advise or suggest people approach somebody that they think they can help make double digits investing in real estate when they've never, like, maybe without having a history of doing it or being successful?
Yeah. And that's a good question. And I wouldn't normally say this, but I think I'm very qualified to talk about this because that was my mindset of, oh, I'm begging for money. I'm not begging anybody for money anymore. I'm offering them an opportunity to make an investment that's going to make them a return that's secured by real estate. And the more confident you are in telling somebody that, the better it's going to come across. If you come to someone and see, I've got this project, it's my first time, I'm not really sure. If you come off timid, just like anything in life, if you're trying to sell somebody something or ask them for something and you yourself are not committed towards that action, it's going to come off with how you present yourself, whether it's your emotions, whether it's how you explain the deal. And I'm ultimately trying to get better at raising capital. That's something I truly believe one of my skills is. So I'm learning from people that have done it before me, but I'm also confident in the product that I'm selling now. And again, just starting out, maybe you aren't. So maybe you partner with somebody like myself and my partner who, if you want to do a fix and flip, or maybe you go find somebody who's already investing in multifamily and that's an area you want to raise capital, or you're around a lot of high net worth individuals and you want to offer them, again, something truly passive. Okay, go find someone who's got a debt fund or an equity fund, which is something we're starting as well. Actually started this weekend, that knows what they're doing and is a seasoned operator. And then you can learn from them and say, hey, I have people that I'd like to raise capital from. Could I be a capital raiser for you? If so, great. How do I do that? What's the next steps? Or really, it's just I approach my inner circle and I talk about what I'm doing. I don't go to them and I say, hey, I need your money. I go to them and ultimately I'm selling them without really ever asking them. I bring warm leads towards me by talking about what I'm doing, posting on social media, posting proof, not necessarily promising anybody a return because you don't want to get into a securities violation, but
Sure.
showing proof of what's capable of making money without using any of your own money or leveraging other people's money. And then honestly, people come to you. When people start coming to you, that's when I truly started to feel confident. I'm like, I'm not selling them anything. I'm offering them an opportunity to invest in a double-digit return and make more money while still doing their W-2 or whatever it is that they want to do. And that's where I think the power is.
Yeah, I'd have to say that this past weekend showed me the power of social media because I had people. So I'm working on a fix and flip myself right now that I brought money to the deal. And people were like, "How's your fix and flip going?" I was like, "Oh, you saw my Instagram video? Cool." So a lot of people are trying to I think there are people following me to see how it goes. They like the end result from where it came from to where it is today. And I have a feeling once they see that I sold that property, that a lot more people are going to come and say, "Hey, I want to get on your next deal." But I think they want to see the end and me close it before they're willing to
Yep.
pull that trigger. Totally agree with you on that. Putting it out there and showing people what you do. I mentioned earlier, and I wanted you to kind of just elaborate on it, that in Orlando, you're one of the people that host events so that people can go to a place where they may be able to meet somebody who has money that can help them do their first deal or multiple deals. Can you kind of elaborate on how you bring people together to help them network?
Yeah, as he mentioned, I'm local to Orlando, and that's where I started, was going to local meetups. I have a couple really good friends that are in Sub 2, Javier Paredes, Matthew Lopez, and Ella Ray, if you don't know those three names, especially in Owners Club Ella Ray.
All day, Ella Ray.
Yeah. So those are my people. That's where I started going out to meetups here year and a half ago, and was really uncomfortable, even for somebody who's, I would consider, a very outgoing extrovert. I was very uncomfortable. I've told this story on Javier's podcast about how I had to run to the bar and get a couple beers before I came back outside and was ready to interact with people. And honestly, I have a lot of friends there. I have a lot of, I would consider, bird dogs now that are bringing us local deals, local fix and flips, because they know what we do. I've brought my wife into that circle to do headshots, like corporate headshots at those meetups. We've hosted anything and everything. But what I would say is there's a lot of opportunities in those rooms. And even going in there and being vulnerable of, hey, I'm new, I'm here to learn. I don't necessarily know what direction I want to go, but I'm open to hearing, hey, what are you doing? Listen, hear what other people are doing, and then learn. Ask, how can I help? How can I bring value? Not necessarily, how can I get in on your next deal? If you don't have money and you don't have time, don't ask that. But hey, how can I learn? How can I bring value? Maybe you're a W-2 worker and they say, well, you don't have a ton of time. That's okay. Do you have money that you'd like to put to work in the next deal? And I'm not saying you go to the first person who asks you for money. That's usually a red flag of just like, oh yeah, just put money in our next deal. Learn what they're doing. Go to their project on a Saturday or a Sunday, maybe if you're working or after, and just say, hey, can I check in on what you're doing? I'd love to get involved. And be comfortable with that person that you're really loaning money to, because you're going to be in a relationship with them.
Right.
So you've got to know and trust them, first of all. That's the big thing, obviously, building that trust. It's building a relationship, because I don't want somebody who's going to come in on one deal and want a 50% return and then move on and find somebody else who's going to offer higher returns the next time, which is crazy. It may sound crazy, but I've heard that returns before. I see it posted on the free group all the time, and I'm just like, not even responding, not even going there. I want to build a relationship with people who are like, hey, I want to do this again and again. So, I don't have to go out and continue to find a new person for every deal. Like, we have a gap lender right now that she pretty much lends on most of our deals. She knows we find good deals. And if we're buying one, we're buying because we're buying it deep. And there's plenty of room for her to make profit, the hard money lender to make profit, and for us. So that's the biggest thing I would say. Just go out with the goal in mind of making more relationships and building up your network, because I know the old adage, your network is your net worth, but it truly is. It's the truth.
That's awesome. So just for the audience, I want to go back a little bit.
Sure.
A bird dog is basically somebody who is looking at an investor's, what we call a buy box, certain characteristics of a home that investor is looking for. And then that bird dog brings that opportunity to the investor. And if it's something that the investor decides to move forward with, they get a fee for bringing that potential. Or usually we pay once we close on a deal. If we close on it, then you get a fee for that. So not just for if you bring us an address, you're going to get paid, right? It has to be something that works for us and that we are able to close on. So if that's something that you're interested in, there's trainings on YouTube. Pace does a lot of them, and individual investors actually have what they call their bird dog training, because they want to make sure the people that are going to bird dog for them know exactly their buy box, so that you're not wasting your time and you're not wasting their time.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I'll add, that is something that my partner and I do. We'll take it a step further, Pace. And I know Laura's done some bird dog training lately as well. We actually hosted a Zoom the other night. We had about 5 different people that were interested in either partnering on their first fix and flip with us, and they were interested in how we underwrite, how we comp, or people that were wanting to bird dog for us. So I have that recording, but we also are starting to offer those, I'd say bi-weekly, do those in the evening to jump on and just show people how to comp, first of all, how to find a comp. You see a wholesale deal that's posted to know if it's good, because you can see what's written on there. But if you just trust the numbers that are written on there, I promise you're going to get bitten. You've got to truly find your comps in that area. You got to know how to calculate rehab, even just a basic number based off of the square footage and how much rehab's needed, but then also how to find the ARV, and then how to find your buyer. So that's really the bird dog is doing, is they've already found their buyer. They're coming to us. They know that we're going to buy this deal, and they're in constant communication with us, and they're going out there and connecting the seller to the buyer, but they've already got the buyer there. So they know before they ever go truly buy a deal, and they're not buying it, they're just going to attach us on there. And like you said, Jose, they would make a fee at the end. Because at first I had people that would just send me address after address of things that are listed. And it's, did you make contact with the agent? Did you make contact with the wholesaler? No. Did you do any comping? No. Have you underwritten this? No. And that's fine. But I know out there people are like, Pace is paying people 5 and 10 grand. Yeah, some of those are bigger assets, and some of those are ones they've negotiated or direct to seller or things like that versus just sending him an address. That's not exactly what a bird dog is. It sounds simple, and it is, but you still have to understand some of the basics, and we do teach that. So I'd say if you're also interested in that, please don't hesitate to reach out as well.
Appreciate that. We'll make sure that at the end or in the description we have. Goodness, let me get me some water.
We talked a lot this weekend, so I feel
Yeah.
I took yesterday off and just hung out with family, but
I'll make sure that if you don't mind, we'll share your Zoom or where people can actually come and see that. But the title of my podcast is Good, Bad, and Ugly. And anybody that's been involved in real estate for any length of time knows that they have some good stories and bad stories of some of the deals that they've been in. Would you mind sharing with us a good story and bad story? It doesn't matter what order you do it in. Did you have experience in your real estate career?
Sure. Yeah. Let's start with the good. You've heard one good story already. I would consider my first one almost, I'd say probably still our biggest home run, because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just locking up a contract and was going to wholesale it for a small fee. When I found a partner, I found more profit, and I got into fix and flip. But one of our other deals this past year, I advertised, and it was a free advertisement. I posted in a local community group about I was looking for my next project, was looking for a fixer upper, ultimately trying to go direct to seller. But I got a lot of agents responding to me. Here's this new build. Here's this. I'm like, nobody read this description. You're just an agent trying to sell me something. But I had one agent that reached out and really stood out to me, was wanting to work with investors, was wanting to learn truly what it was we were looking for. Hey, I don't have anything right this second, but if I can better understand, I can bring you guys more opportunities. And I was like, bam, this is great. That's a unicorn agent if I've ever heard one.
You go, yeah.
So my partner and I had coffee with her like 2 weeks later. Actually, it was probably about a month later. And she said, I have this house that was listed for a while. I just pulled it off the market because we couldn't sell it, but she's in a tight spot. Her aunt died. She came down here and needed a ton of work. So with her inheritance, she started living in it, and she was just hiring people out to fix it. She's like, it's a 2,000 square feet in Palm Coast, which is where we were buying, and it still needs a ton of work. She'd already put 140 grand into it. And I was like, this small home, she put that much and it's not done. When we walked it still didn't have floors. We still had to add a huge fence because it was on a corner lot. So add some privacy to it. The full master bath, the tiling wasn't done. The vanity wasn't done. The painting interior still needed to be done. So instead of,
I gotta interrupt you. 140K and all that still needs to be done. Did she tell you where that 140 went? Because that's a lot of money for all that still to be done.
Yeah. So the painting exterior was done, the brand new roof was done, and a brand new AC system and ductwork was all done. What else had she done? She'd done a couple other things, but they weren't really noticeable. She actually did a really nice kitchen remodel. I will give her that. But that kitchen remodel, there's no way it was more than 18 to 20K, even with countertops, new cabinets. Yeah. The windows were put in. But they did this like
60K, man.
Yeah. Trust me. What we found out was she hired out a lot of friends and people that were looking for work that then just didn't do the work.
Okay. That makes sense now.
They also spent a ton of money on this like state-of-the-art V light air conditioner that
Oh, wow.
was cool but I was just like, man,
Yeah.
I heard she spent like 25K on that for a 2,000 square foot house. And I was like, you paid triple what we would have paid, but okay. So nonetheless, when we offered a cash offer, it was about 30K under, and that was the highest we were comfortable coming up to.
Sure.
And my partner and I were like, man, this doesn't need much more work. We could be done with this house in under a month. And I've been working on this house for a year, no way. And we're like, listen, we can be in and out. We are confident of this. Excuse me. It only needs 30K more worth of work, which we ended up doing 35K. But that's where we did a novation. We had to sell the agent on it. This is the same agent that I said, again, she was open to learning. She was transparent with what she didn't know. And this was our first novation too. So we went to our attorney, the real estate attorney that we work with in Palm Coast. And she said,
Let
yeah,
me
I can
stop
write
real
you up.
quick, Trevor, because
Yeah.
I know people are going to like novation. They're going to be stuck on that word. Can you share with people what
Sure.
a novation is? Because again, I have different levels of people watching this.
Absolutely.
They're going to start focusing on that word instead of every other thing you're about to say.
Yeah. So novation is a fancy way of saying we got the property under contract, but didn't fully close on it. And then we were able to take control based off of what the novation agreement. So we had a purchase and sale agreement that said, we're going to pay this lady $240,000 at the close of escrow for this house. The novation agreement says, but over the next 6 months, the contract doesn't expire. We are able to come in. We have power of attorney to make decisions on the listing and sale of this house, how much we're going to list it for, how much we're going to sell it for, what title company we want to go to. And we also have, in that time, we have the opportunity to come in and make the proper repairs that still need to be done. And then we can sell the house. So instead of coming in and buying the house cash, we offered her 210 cash and having to then incur hard money loan costs, carrying costs, all of that, which was negotiated in the novation agreement. We paid for the utilities while this was all going on. She still covered the mortgage, which I actually believe it was owned free and clear. So she covered the taxes and insurance. We covered the utilities, but we didn't have a couple $1,000s worth of hard money loan costs to close the deal. We didn't have title costs to close the deal. We were able to come in and do that. So the novation there's a lot of ways people describe a novation, but that's essentially what we did. It saved us a lot of upfront costs. When I say we spent 35 grand, that's all we spent. Whereas if we would have bought this house $210,000, we'd had to put 10% down. We had to pay hard money loan costs. We go through a broker sometimes. We had broker fees, title insurance fees. Those fees stack up quickly and would have eaten up all of the profit, which is why we offered her 210 instead of 240.
Right.
So when she said, I'm interested in getting more money, 30 grand more is a lot. How is this? And it took us some time to explain and build trust and build rapport. Hey, we do this. We do projects like this. It really will not take us a long time. And she was skeptical, just like anybody should be.
Right.
So we got on a few calls and explained what we were going to do. And she was open to it. She said, okay, let's do it. It helped having the agent, again, open and honest. And she had built some rapport with the seller first as well. But yeah, we were in and out in 35 days. We listed it. We had 3 offers within the first 7 days of listing because we listed it aggressively.
Nice.
And we sold that house in just under, I think it was a total amount of just under 3 months for $350,000. We paid all closing costs, all commissions. We paid the seller $240 and our rehab costs, and we still made, I think, $35K. So it was 100% ROI on the money that we put into rehab. So that money came from the buyer. The buyer paid us $350 and title distributed $240 to her, the agent fees, all of their fees, and then we made $35K of profit. Yeah, you were exactly correct.
That's great. So now to the black side or the dark side of it, how about the one that didn't turn out so well?
Some that haven't gone. I will say I've been fortunate so far that things that seemed like they weren't going well, ultimately in the end did go well. We're able to be sorted out, whether that was some of these fix and flips taking longer. One of our fix and flips, when we first underwrote it, the deal my partner got it at, he bought it for 205. We bought it for 215, and we were estimated to sell it just over 400. It was a big remodel. We had a beautiful kitchen. We price all of ours to move. This one we priced a little bit higher. We started it at 420. We ended up selling it for 390. So 30K difference there. We still made 30K at the end of it, but we incurred an extra month and a half, actually 2.5 months of holding costs, hard money costs, So we didn't sell it as what we thought. Again, that got a little nerve wracking. That was probably the longest project we've had, was just over 6 months. So we paid our gap lender a little extra because our contract expired at 6 months, and we made good on that. But again, we bought it deep enough to know even if things do go wrong and we hold it for longer, we're going to make less, but we're still going to make a profit. So that is something I would say is the ugly, especially in fix and flip, whether you get into a project and it needs more work than you thought, or
Sure.
oh no, the pool doesn't need to be resurfaced. And you get in there and you really due diligence and yeah, we need to get this up the ARV we want to sell it at. It really does. So you put a little bit more money in there than maybe you accounted for. And we're
Sure.
learning that every time now we factor in a little bit more rehab than really we thought we were going to have to put in. So yeah, I'd just say the waiting time of some of these things, whereas I'm very much an instant gratification. I love it when things are done quickly or again, instantly gratified, but I'm learning patience is key. And if you underwrote it correctly, you know your comps and you're working with people that you trust, in
Sure.
the end, that patience, that persistence and communication will still allow the ugly to have a decent finish at the end and an opportunity to learn from some of those ugly moments.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. I had an opportunity to lend on a fix and flip, and the borrower found another source before me, and I really was like, "Darn, man, I missed out on a great opportunity." And it may have been a blessing in disguise because when they started doing demo, it ended up being it tested hot for meth from the city. So they had to stop their demo and get it remediated before they could move on.
Whoa.
It took, I want to say 6 weeks to 2 months, which in real estate and fix and flipping, 2 months of carrying without being able to move forward can become costly, especially if you have a hard money loan. I
Wow.
look at it as a blessing, but it was tough for them because that was time that they weren't planning on losing.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's the first. I haven't heard it testing hot for meth before, but
yeah. It was a kind of a hoarder house. So as they were cleaning stuff up, they started finding needles and stuff.
geez.
And so I guess there was some kind of requirement where they had to go in there. The city required them to have an inspection done to make sure they can move forward.
Thanks.
So I'm like, glad I didn't get into that one.
Yeah, I bet.
You shared a lot with us. You shared about hosting and how people can start networking, and your fix and flips, and how you're leveraging other people's money to help do your real estate. If people wanted to follow you or get in touch with you, see how they can get involved in investing with you, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I would say there's a multitude of ways. I am trying to be as public and easy to find as possible. So you'll see my handle there on Instagram is Trevor_Ryan7. Welcome to follow me on there. I offer lots of tips and tricks and things like that, and ways to get into fix and flipping, get into lending. Those are my two primary sources of active income right now. Again, we do active fix and flips here in Florida, in Orlando and the Palm Coast area, but we also are building a fund for fix and flips. So I do a lot of private money lending, some gap lending, some double close funding as well, locally to partners, but are trying to expand that as well. So if you're looking for more information on that, you can find me on Instagram. Facebook is Trevor Hicks. And then I also run a podcast called Thinking Outside the Bank on YouTube, which hoping to have Jose as a guest on there soon. But please go on there, listen to some of those. I've interviewed everybody from private money lenders to fix and flippers to buy and hold investors to regular everyday people. It is not just for real estate investing. It is honestly an avenue for people to go and learn from people with everyday problems and how they've pivoted with those problems and learn from them and move forward on them. So that's the kind of the duality of thinking outside the bank and thinking outside the box of, again, when life throws you problems, how do you pivot and learn from them and grow from that? That's that on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And yeah, I'm not hard to find.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Trevor, for your time today. Audience, if you love this, hit subscribe, show some love, go out to Trevor's Instagram, subscribe and add yourself there, follow him. If you can't find the information between the two of us or anybody else that we're associated with, then you're not looking.
Yeah.
Again, Trevor, thank you so much for your time. To the audience, we'll see you on the next episode.